Now, every care home in England will be given school-style inspections under new Department of Health plans to be announced this lunchtime. The scheme will focus on reducing abuse and neglect and aims to prevent cases like that of dementia sufferer Gladys Wright. The following footage, filmed on a camera hidden by her family, shows Mrs. Wright being abused in a care home. The care workers seen here later pleaded guilty to her ill treatment.
You dirty dog!
Dirty dog.
Ow!
Don't want to get into this.
Ow! Dad! Dad!
Well, Mandy Mugford's mother was also neglected in a care home. She was left in her bed so long her muscles twisted, and Mandy also hid a camera which confirmed her suspicions of ill treatment.
I knew there was something wrong, and I couldn't put my finger on it when I was there. I knew that there was things wrong when I was there also, but I needed to know what was going on when I wasn't there. I can't put into words really how it made me feel, because if I could have lifted her out of that bed on that day and carried her home, I would have done. Sorry. What upsets me is it was before that I should have been there 24/7, and I just couldn't be. That's why we go to the extremes we do and allow our families to go into these places, because we think they're going to be looked after.
Well, with me here is Alex Ingram, the co-founder of myagingparent.com, which offers help and resources for families looking after an elderly relative. A very warm welcome to you. First of all, just an observation from both of those case studies that we showed is the use of secret cameras. People really feel they're having to take this matter into their own hands.
I think it's a real shame that that's the case, actually, that people have to do that. You should trust where you're putting your member of your family. It's going to be their home, so you really shouldn't have to do that. I mean, it's a bit like sending your child to a nursery and watch them all the time on webcam. I think we've got to get that trust back so people can feel that the older people are being really looked after and really cared for without filming them.
And it's not just the rise of the use of these cameras by individuals, but also we've seen charities emerging, the proliferation of things like Silverline, which is like the childline phone helpline for elderly people. Indeed, your own company, the myagingparent.com, which is campaigning for better support for victims and their families.
Absolutely. I think that is a sad thing, and that's what happens when people don't trust what is being offered. And I think what's happening now is really going to help that situation, because we have had inspections there before, and you can look at ratings of care homes, but that's different. You have to really get under the skin of a care home. You have to feel that it's a personalised to the care of that elderly person. You think people have got to care about them. It's the whole culture of the care home. And when you feel that it's right and you really trust it, then some of these other things won't need to happen.
And do you think inspections are the best way to do that? Or do you think that the sector needs to be looked at so that it can avoid being put into special measures in the first place? For example, do they need to have more training for people that are caring for our elderly relatives?
Absolutely. I think training is essential. This measure actually is going to put in certification and training as part of the inspection. So that is, I think, a very good thing. But I think the whole thing is the way we really look after older people. I mean, it is really a culture. It's a UK culture thing, not just the care homes. When we put kids into nursery, all the things that we do to protect them and make sure things are going right, where actually we haven't been doing that in the past. So I think it's a huge culture change. This won't be the answer, but I think the fact that it's really going to have to go deeper into how the care home operates, it will certainly help. But really, it's all about the individuals that are looking after them and the management and also the funding.
Well, it's interesting. So that's the point I was going to make, because a lot of people are critical of the proprietors of many of these nursing homes and care homes. And a lot of people are saying you never meet the owner of a care home that isn't well off. They are making lots of money. That's not necessarily being translated into good care.
No, absolutely right, and I think that's one of the main things, but part of the funding issue is it's the local authorities for most of the time that are funding the care, and it's fine having all the inspections saying these things need to change, but who's going to pay for those changes? If the local authority aren't going to pay for the improvements, then the care home may not be able to afford it, because they're not all making lots of money, obviously some are, but they may not be able to afford it. These are people's homes, we mustn't forget about that. So if things can't be done, they may close, and that is really going to be a different kind of abuse on the older people. We've seen it before, people in their 90s who have been in homes for 10 years having to move. It's a really disastrous situation. And the other aspect is also caring in people's own homes, because this also covers that. So again, if you're going to put a care organisation into special measures, then local authorities may not use that care home anymore, so the older person who's had the same person coming every day is not going to have it. So there are lots of different angles to this that you need to think about.
Interesting. Alex Ingram, really good to have your thoughts. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.